What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the smithy. Today we have a very important project that will further well, a lot of the processes I have in my shop, but will also get us a lot further in building my Airsoft Clone Trooper armor, and that is I need and I'm going to build a vacuformer. For the longest time I was going to just try and 3D print my armor, but after doing that enough I found out there's limitations to the 3D printed armor in regards to actual usage, and so I ended up begrudgingly saying, okay, I have to build a vacuformer. I've watched enough videos on making it. I've seen it being done enough to where I feel like I know what I'm going into. I know what I'm going to be doing. So that's what we're going to be doing today, is building a vacuformer and then actually making some armor. I'm going to be building two vacuformers. One, a small scale one that does these little 12 by 12 sheets that I have laying around. That's just going to be for proof of concept, and I also, you know, if I can avoid using a big vacuformer for projects, I would like to, so having a small one around the shop would be nice. So it's going to be my small one and my proof of concept to make sure what I'm doing is going to work for my larger one. So we're going to go ahead and start doing that. The bigger one will probably be, it will be at least 2.5 feet by 2.5 feet. I know that for sure. It will be at least that. Maybe bigger, not sure yet how big, but all right, so first things first, I am going to make sure I have the measurements on this correct, and then I'm gonna start measuring and cutting some wood to build the frame for this, build the bottom part of this, the bottom frame for this. So let's get going. Whew. All right, let me get this off. Where's it going? All right, so, it's all this. So, let this thing dry, but this is basically, this is the rough construction of the bottom. So I'm gonna let this dry overnight, 24 hours or more, considering it's cold. And in the meantime, I'm going to go rewatch Adam Savage's one-day build where he repairs and redoes his vacuformer. I'm not copying him by any means, but I am going to go see how he did some things, and some ways I might do some things or modify it for my design, because I don't have the whole design in my head yet. I've got bits and pieces, like the bottom. So I'm going to go let this dry and then do that. And then for y'all in the next scene, that should be us either maybe working on the top, maybe working on the, or getting the top on this thing, working on the top section, which is the actual heating element, or the frame system that actually holds the piece of plastic that I, used to actually do the vacuforming. So, all right, some research for me, a next scene for you. All right. So a little more work to do on the base. I plan to get this thing pretty much finished tonight, the bottom part. One thing I've discovered, even though, so the hole's the right size, it's a little bit bigger than my shop vac nozzle, and then the O-ring that fits over this perfectly seals up the hole, which is great, working great, but because the hose is attached, there's this big long hose attached to the shop vac. It means when this is in here, the hose exerts a certain amount of force because of the way it's shaped. And so it wants to do this and make it move around, even with the rubber gasket on there, which kind of messes up the seal and stops it from being able to do its vacuum forming properties as well. It would still do it, but not as efficiently. So what I'm going to do is basically build a neck. I'm going to basically attach a piece that can basically choke up and cover this entire thing, so that when it's in the hole, basically I'm going to cut this block to size and then drill the same size hole in it and attach it to there. And basically what that's going to mean, what that's going to allow it to do is I'm going to be able to insert this thing and basically have a collar around the tube so that it can't move on me and wiggle on me, and so the seal helping to create the vacuum will stay intact. So that's what we are now going to do. All right, yay. So after all that, we have the top cut and the neck mounted. What I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna run a bead of glue around the top here, and then I'm gonna go inside and I'm gonna use my staple gun to secure this to the top. I feel like if I used one of my air nailers or air staplers, like the one I used to attach the neck, I think that might be overkill for this top. It might damage it more than it should. So I'm just gonna use a handheld one. So I'm gonna go inside, put a bead of glue around the top, mount this, and then, well, actually, you know, I am gonna do that when I go inside, but first, when I go inside, I'm going to take the vacuum's hose with me, attach the gasket to the inside of this neck, and just make sure the fit works like I want. Make sure it's working like I intend it to, because once I attach the top, then it's done, and I can't go back. So I'm gonna attach the gasket into the neck here first, and make sure that that's got a nice tight seal, and then if I'm happy with that, I will attach the top. So let's go do that. All right, so let me start with the gasket, y'all. This is just a piece of 3mm thick EVA foam. The tube back in to help him set in his place. Oh my lord, I'm getting so excited about this. The big vacuformer and the little vacuformer will essentially be the same. There will be some different components in different ways. There'll be some different parts and pieces, but essentially everything I do on the small one, as far as the basic design, is what I'm going to do for the big one. So this working is just so exciting, getting me so pumped for the big boy. Yep, and that's pretty nice. All right, so now that that's done, I will move y'all over here. I will adjust the camera height for you. All right. Now, let's attach the top. So I was right that this is overkill for this thing, but sadly my staple gun was underkill and didn't do anything. This worked, but it also caused some damage on this side. There's a double feed here, a double feed there, a double feed there, some blowout there. So I'll have to spend a little extra time smoothing that out and making that pretty. It should be fine in the end, but you know, just a little extra work, but oh well, it'll be worth it. But all right, that's it for this stage. Next stage, build the clamp that actually holds the plastic that I then hold down over this thing. So time to start playing with some steel. Next. All right, so all that, and we have the shape of the first one, of half of it. So now what I need to do, I actually need to go back and hit it with the grinder a few more spots, in a few other spots, just to kind of smooth it out. But I'm gonna clean up my edges with the grinder here real quick. And then I'm gonna start looking at brazing it. Putting this flat down gave it a little more damage than I wish it did. There's a nice crack right here. I'm gonna try and braze that closed. I'm gonna try and braze all these closed. I'm gonna do the brazing over my welder because the welder has a lot greater chance of just going through this and destroying it than making it to where I have to start all over. The brazing, as far as I can understand from what I've seen and researched, if I mess up a little bit on the brazing, I can just kind of grind it off. Which is what you're supposed to do with a welder, but this welder, I need kind of thicker steel for that, or else it just kind of goes through it like it's not there. So I'm gonna put this back on the vise and get the grinder over it in just a few spots, clean up some areas to prepare it for brazing, and then we'll jump into brazing and see how that goes. So here we go. All right, so I'm slowly getting the hang of brazing. And as you saw, I was able to successfully braze at least part of two of the joints. And then I managed to mess the first one I did up, so I had to do it again. I think with enough time and practice just today, I could have it done right. But I think I'm gonna run out of matte gas before my main problem is getting it evenly heated and heating the steel up quickly. While that kind of cools, I think I'm gonna set up my welder, and using the two scraps that I cut off from that, I'm gonna test my welder and see if I can get a good weld for these pieces without just blowing through them. Because if I can, because it is thicker steel than what I'm used to working with. So if I can get it, I'd really like to weld up all the seams just so I have a nice solid piece. But we'll practice and see how that works. And we'll also see, once this thing's cool, how strong that bond is. Because it's not like it's gonna be put under an enormous amount of pressure ever. So we'll just test some things out here and see. And one way or another, we'll get it fully done. All right, well, as you saw, I got started. But then the welder started having some problems, and I went and messed with it, and something's wrong with her. I guess it's an old machine. And I guess I gotta go get it maintenance. So, which sucks, because that looked like that was gonna work. I think that was gonna work. So that's kind of depressing. But, oh well, we will march forward one way or another. We'll figure out a way to get it done. Oh. That's how you will face roadblocks when you are doing stuff like this, and you just gotta kind of power through them. There's nothing else you can really do. All right, well, let's see about what we're gonna do. Let's see what we're gonna do, y'all. I guess it's back to brazing, which was going well when I was doing it. I'm just not sure I'm gonna have enough map gas, but we shall see. All right, so, whew. Get things here. All right, so as you saw, I was able to braze the rest of that, and I'm getting better at brazing. Like, there's no question, I'm getting better at it. Honestly, I think a big thing would be I need to get like an actual separate thing of flux. Because these brazing rods are pre-fluxed and it works, but I think part of the problem is I don't have enough flux. But I'm starting to get this figured out. I don't know if I'll have enough map gas to get the second one finished, so I might have to go get another tank of that, which, fine. But I guess at this point I'm gonna let that cool off while I'm gonna grind this down. I'm gonna grind this last one here in a second, and then you know, we'll pull this thing off, and hopefully it's good. Hopefully, you know, praying here. All right, let's get this one at least finished. If nothing else today, we're going to get this one finished. All right, so it's ground up, and as you can see, it fits. I'm pretty happy with the fit. But I'm gonna go and get my metal Bondo, which, you know, I should deal with the heat of, you know, Vacuform heater okay. But I'm gonna get my metal Bondo from upstairs from the shop, or from the lab. And I'm gonna basically patch up any little areas that I missed with that, which will be fun. That stuff is noxious. I have to wear a gas mask. All right. I have to walk out of there. Geez, I can still smell it from here. Whew. So I'm doing this out here because I really can't be around that smell. That smell makes me, the smell of the metal JB Weld gives me a headache within like minutes of smelling it. It is so noxious. So I'm gonna let that dry, probably give it about an hour and set up, and then I'm gonna come back and make another mixture of it and do the inside of the seam, the inside seams. And we're gonna hope that's strong enough. So I made a sad discovery last night. The hole for this and the sheet of plastic are almost the exact same size, which is bad because I need a certain amount of lip for this frame to actually hold on to the edge of the plastic. So that's a bummer, but I am not about to redo this because, one, I need to find a different steel with different size to actually give me a lip. And I wasn't able to find that to begin with, so I'm not gonna spend the extra time to do that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use this thin gauge sheet steel and just basically cut out some strips that I can put on the inside and basically bring the edge in just enough to where I can, you know, it'll have enough lip for this to grab. So that's what I'm about to do. This is one of the great reasons I'm building the small scale vacuformer first, completely separate from the large scale, is lets me learn from little mistakes like this that I don't have to make on a giant 3x3 or 4x4 vacuformer, which would be much, much worse. So I'm gonna get started on prepping this and getting it cut out, and just attaching it with some more JB weld around the edge, and hopefully by the end of the day we'll have the two actual steel frames complete. What I'm thinking, at least, you know, knock on wood. But all right, let's get going. Modifying time. All right, so I'm gonna start do the geometry and trigonometry for figuring out how the size of the wood panels that I need to cut for the portion of the vacuformer that suspends the plastic above the heating element. And to that end, here is the heating element. Now, I know this is not what, actually I don't know. I haven't been able to figure out exactly what type of heating element a lot of small vacuformers use. This one is just something I had around. I just had this up here in the lab, and I've never used it for anything. And I was thinking about heating elements while planning this build. I was like, wait a minute, I've got this. This thing puts out 1800 watts. I've tested this large burner at its max power, and it puts out a lot of heat. So it should be more than enough. If you'll notice, this is actually smaller than my plastic sheet, so that's why I can't just build a box that goes straight up, because it's small. So I actually that's why I have to do the geometry and trigonometry. I have to do some angles, cut some angles on my pieces of wood, and basically make four trapezoids, and make it to where the top is bigger than the bottom. But that's what I'm gonna do. If y'all have, if y'all have good suggestions for what a small vacuformer usually uses as a heating element, let me know. This is not what I'm going to use for the big vacuformer. The big vacuformer is actually going to have heaters, like normal sized heaters, and I've seen this specific model heater be used in other large vacuformers before, so I know it works. I'm just using what I have with me right now. So I am going to start getting some measuring tools and doing some basic trigonometry and geometry. So here we go. Time to start marking and cutting. All right. All the cuts are made, and now the box is kind of standing on its own, just with the pieces put together but not attached. It's not perfect, but that's actually because the blade on my miter saw there is off just by a little bit. Let's like turn just like a few degrees, and I need to get that repaired. Just don't know where to. So it's not 100% perfect, but it's close enough to where when it's glued and nailed and everything, it'll be good to go, which is what we will do now. First, I'm gonna tape it up. So, at this stage, all the holes are drilled. The very last thing to do is to attach the pieces together. And the way I'm gonna do that is rivet them together, but I don't really have any good rivets that I trust that I can use the rivet gun on. So I'm going to begrudgingly do something that I've done plenty of times and practiced at. I'm going to turn a regular nail into a rivet. This is the type of rivets that I use for my medieval armor. And this takes a little bit longer, it's a little more labor intensive, but it's going to be a lot stronger. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this done, and y'all get to see me make some rivets and get this thing attached. So here we go. All right, so it's been a few days, and in those days I have been testing this thing and running it through its first few vacuforms to start figuring things out, start learning how to do it. And because of those tests, I have gone and upgraded and changed some things. So the first upgrade or change was decided I'm going to ditch this for now. While it could work, there are too many adjustments I need to make to get this metal clamp, plastic clamp working. So instead, I built a quicker, dirtier version that I knew would work out of wood. Simple, not as nice, not as quick, but works. It's easy, it's reliable, doesn't require a bunch of fine tuning like that one will. And I will have to make a aluminum or steel version for the bigger one, obviously, because a wood version for one that size just wouldn't work. But for this one, just gonna start with this and get used to it. Another upgrade I made is I noticed my forms weren't coming out too good, partially because of the actual vacuum, how much air was able to pass beneath. So this is what the pegboard originally looked like, and I took my drill and did this to it dramatically. I basically doubled the number of holes. So that there are more spaces for the air to come down around the mold. If this was a piece of perforated steel, it would have enough holes, tiny holes, but it is not. So made that modification. I also took the inside of this and coated it with tin foil because I noticed the plastic was taking forever to get hot and wasn't getting hot enough. I'm using 1/8" thick plastic, so it requires a bit more heat than I'm using 1/8" thick ABS, which requires a bit more heat than some of the other thinner plastics. So coated the inside of this with tin foil, run some tests with it, dramatic difference. And then one I just built, I had another version of this that I made and was using, but this is the final version I built. I call this the heat transfer. And basically what it's designed to do is it sits on top of the burner and irradiates heat. It produces a ton more heat. So even though the burner itself produces a set amount of heat, the tinfoil on the inside of the box adds to that, and then this adds to that, making it hotter inside and bringing the plastic to slightly higher temperature, making it more malleable, making it form a little bit easier. This is the first test where I'm going to be running all 3 of those upgrades together, or 4 of those upgrades together when I count the lid over here. So let's see, let's see, that fits nice and easy. All right, let's see here. Actually, I think I want to do this. There. Arrange this thing so it's an easy transition over. And that the switch is right there. Okay, so there's that. And which one am I using? All right, using my mold for the left foot. I'm gonna take my gloves off. Give this a little coating of release. Adam Savage used cornstarch for his releasing agent. I did not have that in our baking cabinet, so I used baking powder. I have no idea if I'm supposed to do that, but it's worked so far for the other ones. So just basically give it a powder coat. Make sure there's no clumps. All right. And this is the first test of all these elements together. So we shall see how it goes. All right, that is the best test so far. Still having a little trouble getting my plastic up to temperature, to the necessary temperature quickly enough. So I might do another version of this. I had to do a few cuts where I took apart certain parts and messed around with the heating element inside because it wasn't heating up like it needed to, like it had done in the previous tests. Finally got it to start working kind of right. But still taking a long time to heat up and get to the right temperature. So I might modify this or make another version of this that brings it closer to the heating element in the coming days. But let's see. Let's go ahead and get this out. Let's see if we can actually get the mold out. This is the first test where I have I've had the smooth side facing out. So, and it's a success, so I'm happy about that. Alright. Ta-da. It's frustrating, but I am getting closer. Every test gets closer. Alright, so that is the last of the test plastic that I have in the shop, so I have to order some more and get that in. I think we'll end the video here today. I'll make the larger Vacuform a separate video, but basically I'll show you. I'm going to keep tinkering and working and upgrading and modifying the small one over the next few days, and I'm going to hone that in and get that exactly right as I can before I build the big one. And here you can see the first few tests with the Vacuform. This was test 1, 2 in one piece. This was test 2, and then this is test 3 that we just did. You know, on camera and in person on their own, they don't look like failures. Actually, they look, you know, they don't look perfect, but they look pretty good and they look like something I could work with. But the thing I'm going for here is repeatability, and I have concerns. I have decent concerns that I cannot repeat these. So I'm going to keep modifying things. I've already modified the form since I did this one. I've modified the form just a little bit more. Put some tape, aluminum tape on it to help it deal with the heat better. So I'm just going to keep modifying and keep tweaking things over the next probably few days, week, and I'm getting close. I'm getting really close to a, you know, happy functioning small model. And then I'll move on to making the big model, which will be a little bit different, but roughly the same. And all this is very important to my airsoft armor, because pretty much all the rest of my airsoft armor is going to be vacuformed 8-inch thick ABS. The helmet is, you know, kind of a standalone piece, you know, that gets upgraded. A few pieces of the armor itself get upgraded, but the rest of the armor, for the most part, at least the initial version, is going to be vacuformed ABS. So I need to get this down, this brand new skill that I'm learning. I need to be able to do this, learn how to do this quickly, because I want to get my armor done. I'm ready to have a decent portion of my armor actually finished, and to where I can more or less just focus on the helmet. So for today, we will end the video. I will take a break, at least for a few hours, because I probably can't let myself take much more of a break than that. But hope y'all like this video. You know, remember, like, subscribe, share, comment. I'm gonna try and do shorter videos from now on. Seems like y'all enjoy that better. Let me know thoughts on that. But anyway, hopefully get the large vacuformer up here before too long, or some vacuform armor being finished, a video on that. So in any case, keep on the lookout for another video. Hope to see y'all again. Hope y'all enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.